come forward for sentencing, sir? All right, Mr. Absher, I of course sat through the week-long trial in your case. I also have listened today to the testimony of witnesses, listened to some letters that were read into the record, and have considered the arguments of both of the attorneys. Let me say just a couple words before I impose sentence here. I've been on the bench now approximately 10 years, and I have sat through a variety of different kinds of trials in a variety of different facts and circumstances. But I look at each case and each person individually. And the facts and circumstances of this case were by all accounts horrifying. The fact that this happened in front of these two young children who are forever going to be traumatized is a fact that I'm not taking lightly. And to me, in this case, is an aggravating factor. I don't think Ms. Rucker and your family will ever have closure. I don't expect you to, but hopefully with today's sentencing, there will be some sense of closure. And I certainly hope and encourage, if your son Colton and if Joseph in New Jersey is undergoing counseling and therapy for this event, that they certainly continue to do so in the hopes of perhaps leading as normal a life as they can in the future, especially Joseph without his mother. And I certainly hope for all of you that the good memories, the wonderful memories that you have of Ashlee can provide you at least some comfort in your grief as you go forward with your life from this point forward. But no sentence I impose today is ever going to bring her back or will ever, I suspect, satisfy anybody. But I will impose the sentence I think is appropriate and that is within the bounds of the law. So with that, Mr. Absher, as to counts 1 through 3, the jury having found you guilty on each of counts 1 and 2, and you having pled guilty, a plea I accepted. As to count 3, I'm now going to adjudicate you guilty of each of those 3 counts. On count 1, I will sentence you as the law requires me to mandatory life in prison with no possibility of parole. On count 2, I'm going to sentence you to life in prison. As required, well, not as required, but I feel as appropriate in this matter. As to count 3, I will sentence you to 15 years in prison with the required 3-year minimum mandatory. You will get credit for the 1,855 days that you have already served. Count 3 will run concurrent to count 1 and 2, but count 1 and 2 will run consecutively with each other. That is count 1, then count 2, and count 3 will run concurrent to count 2, or 1, regardless. I will impose mandatory felony court costs of $518. There's a $150 attorney fee lien. Is there any restitution that I must order, or do I need to reserve jurisdiction?
I would ask you to reserve jurisdiction, Your Honor, and I think just also for record purposes for count 1, would that include also the mandatory life in the 10-20 life?
10-20 life, both on count 1 and on count 2.
Oh, okay, yes,
So
so
the jury found that the defendant actually possessed
correct.
and discharged a firearm with death or great bodily harm.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So those minimum mandatories are applicable based on the jury's findings. I believe that is all. Do you understand your sentences?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you do maintain the right to appeal, of course, both the judgments and the sentences. You must do so by filing a notice of appeal within the time so designated to the clerk of court. Would you like an attorney appointed to represent you on appeal?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then at this time I'll appoint an attorney for purposes of appeal. And that, sir, will conclude this matter today. Thank you very much.